with wreath-laying, but a memorial service will be held at the Ellis Park Arena in Johannesburg later in the day.
These are live visuals now that you're watching of this memorial that's coming up, as well as the wreath-laying ceremony that's currently taking place.
Simpiwe Moropane, Katutsilo Mwedi and Mduduzi Ndlovu, together with their colleagues, were trying to put out a fire that started on the 23rd floor of the building housing 3 provincial government departments, and that's where they met this unfortunate fate. But they're being remembered today.
Let's listen in to some of the sounds that's coming from this wreath-laying ceremony.
And there you see the executive mayor of Joburg, Herman Mashaba, joining the proceedings. Earlier on when we spoke to Manqoba Mchunu, he indicated that the mayor hadn't made his way through. So there you see him now, flanked by officials and people we assume are family.
Officials and members, firefighters and other department heads that are present with us to the laying of the flowers.
So when you see the sheer number of people attending, you kind of get why Wayne Minnaar came through this morning to come and give us almost like a public awareness address in terms of the closure of roads around the Lisbon building. There you see a wreath-laying ceremony on the steps of the burnt building.
Yeah, no doubt crestfallen colleagues, family and friends paying tribute to the fallen heroes. Just from what I've picked up from your conversation with Wayne Minnaar is that the 3 firefighters will be buried in various provinces,
parts
isn't it?
Of the country.
Yeah.
Some of them one I think comes from the Eastern Cape.
Yeah, I think one from KZN as well. So those respective funerals will be taking place this week. We understand, we stick under correction with regard to that. But no doubt a somber mood there. Our reporter Manqoba Mchunu is there. We're trying to establish some contact with him in terms of the program that's coming up.
I'm just trying to get a recap of the streets that Wayne said would be closed this morning. Demipiliso, Albertina, Sisulu. I think I'll try to get the 3rd street, and I'll mention that as soon as I have it. But those are the streets that will be closed this morning. There you have it, shots of the 27th floor of the building that was burnt and took quite a mission, about 3 days to put out the fire. Some said it was lack of water.
Yeah, there were various issues with regards to putting out, but I guess the firefighters did a remarkable job in trying to put this off. It did flare up and did reignite over the past couple of days. Our SABC crew was basically stationed there from that Wednesday, I think it was, when this fire broke out, and reporting live from the scene and speaking to various people that have been involved, the family, the emergency services, and a lot of questions were raised in terms of were there enough resources, the conditions of the various buildings in the Johannesburg
buildings
CBD.
Meeting safety standards. In fact, subsequently government has evacuated some of their government workers from several other buildings that they occupy, which are deemed to be below the acceptable standards.
You're also watching visuals next to it of the Standard Bank Arena, where the memorial service, we understand, is going to be taking place. You see colleagues, emergency services personnel are there. These folks are the first responders, the ones that I guess you want by your side, when you're going to a sticky situation like this. It's these brave men and women that you want right there by your side, or actually in front of you, that go up and with little regard to their own lives and just wanting to save lives and get people to safety.
It's interesting that you're speaking about first responders in South Africa when a similar conversation is being held in the US with regards to 9/11.
Yeah, exactly. 17 years to the date yesterday, September 11. We were listening to Donald Trump, the US president, yesterday, cutting a very somber tone, different, to what he was.
I have to say, I listened to Barack Obama.
Oh, did you?
Just putting out the disclaimer.
I guess he pulled off a very presidential address yesterday. But I guess, the fraternity, as we were talking about, worldwide of first responders, firefighters, who sacrifice their lives. It's not only endemic to South Africa. When you look at issues like 911, when they were running up those twin towers, all they wanted to do was save lives. Similar in this situation, these firefighters wanted to save lives. If they let that fire continue, I guess, questions will be raised with regard to the structural integrity of that building. Who knows what could have happened, in terms of that, if that fire continues. So indeed, a fitting day today to honor the fallen heroes of the Johannesburg CBD fire.
I still go back to something Wayne Minnaar said earlier. He said, we are colleagues. They fight fires, we fight crime. And that's why we're with them today and honoring them.
Unrelenting, dogged resolve to save lives is a common attribute for firefighters from around the world.
The three fallen firefighters, Simpiwe Murupani, Katutsilo Muedi and Mduduzi Ndlovu, are being remembered today for their courageous effort to bring out a fire that ended up in them losing their lives in the line of duty.
I guess it's days like these that affords us an opportunity as South Africans to recognize the work that they do. I mean, worldwide, even as we speak, I think Hurricane Florence
firefighters have very little recognition.
Yeah. And they're not only fighting fire, they come in when accidents happen. They come in, for instance, when Hurricane Florence is hitting the coast. I mean, they will be there, as first responders, lending a hand, seeing where they can then get in and get their hands dirty, so to speak, and try to save lives. So no doubt, worldwide, they should be honored for the work that they do.
What I was saying, Marika? Okay, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Remember that Herman Mashaba, the mayor, was saying that appealing to the media to hold them responsible in terms of the budget that they have and the money that they have at their disposal to sort out the issues with regards to the compliance of various buildings. And no doubt, I guess, the media and the public will do so. Mangoba Ntunu is live for us at the scene. Mangoba, what are you witnessing?
Well, playing what you're seeing now are members of the families of the three firefighters that lost their life here at the Bank of Lisbon last week, going to also place flowers in memory of their loved ones. Of course, it's been quite an emotional morning for them, having to come here to this building. For the first time, we saw them crying when they got here, being consoled by some of the colleagues of those fire workers who lost their lives. And of course, it's also been pretty emotional for some of the firefighters themselves who have been here, coming back to this building and knowing what happened last week. Many of them saying that indeed they're trying to deal with their pain, but of course they have to keep strong because they're saying that their job is a calling and that theirs is to save lives. And of course, we've seen in a short while ago the mayor of Johannesburg, Mayor Herman Mashaba, also laying a wreath for those 3 firefighters, as well as the MMC for Public Safety, Michael Sun, as well as the provincial dignitaries who include the MEC for Human Settlement, Uhuru Moyelwe. They are all here to come and pay tribute to those fallen firefighters. Of course, the families now laying their wreaths. As you can see, it's not easy for them. It's a difficult time because this is where their loved ones lost their life. And I think the realization that this is where it all happened, coming back to some of these family members who have been having a difficult time this morning, as you can imagine, Blaine. But what we're seeing also, many community members coming here, residents around this area coming here this morning to come and pay their respects to those heroes who they say are heroes who lost their lives in this fire. And of course, they too have been here observing what has been happening here. Those firefighters were also working on that fire last week, also forming a guard of honor in front of this scene where these flowers are being laid this morning. We do understand that the proceedings will be concluded. There will be a short prayer that will be taken before that ceremony is concluded. And from there, we do understand that the dignitaries will then be making their way to Ellis Park, where that memorial service is expected to take place at about 11:30 today. But what we've seen this morning, certainly some of those firefighters emotional this morning, emotional as well, thinking of the events that happened here last week. But of course, many of them keeping a brave face, and that's the job that they do on a daily basis. It's what they do. They have to brave the situation, they have to brave the day in order to save lives. So we've been seeing a lot of them coming forward also to pay tribute. These are the men, what you're seeing now playing, these are the men who were involved in last week's fire. Some of those firefighters were here at the Bank of Lisbon last week who helped to extinguish that blaze, and some of those firefighters who saw some of their colleagues lose their lives in this tragedy. So you can imagine what emotions are going through them right now, Blaine, but most of them saying that they want to honor their memory of their fallen comrades, and saying that one of them that I spoke to saying that they want to remember them, they want to celebrate their life, they want to celebrate their bravery. So many of them saying that this morning, even though it's emotional, they will keep a brave face to ensure that they honor the memory and the bravery of those fallen firefighters.
As we can see,
this is not the first of those wreath-laying ceremonies.
Mangoba, as we can see, they are on bended knee, paying tribute to their brothers, I guess. What do we know, Mangoba, about the funeral arrangements? Do we have any information on that?
Well, Blaine, what we do know is that there will be a funeral service that will be held on Friday, this coming Friday. But the details of that, of course, I will share with you after that memorial service, where we'll get more details about that funeral that will be taking place. But of course, we do expect to hear a lot from the family members themselves, from the memorial, and how this has really affected them. At this point, I don't think we will be able to speak to them due to the high emotions that they're facing at this point. But I think everybody here has been keeping a brave face. It's a very sad occasion, but I think for most of those firefighters, it's been really about keeping a brave face for their loved ones. But I think many of them saying that what they want this to going forward, what they want from this is that those who lost their lives, the death of those who lost their lives should not be in vain, and that certainly there needs to be lessons that are learned from this event. When it comes to the issue of resourcing at the Johannesburg Emergency Services, as well as some of the issues that they've been raising about a lack of resources in that department. So many of them saying that they believe that their colleague's death is not in vain, and that going forward, city officials should really embark on a process to ensure that they fix all of these issues. We can see some of them now, some of those firefighters playing, as I'm looking down, also weeping. I think it's getting a bit emotional, having to again think of what happened that day. So as things stand, both families, some of the firefighters also becoming very emotional at this point.
Just in trying to honor these firefighters, I'm reminded of a saying I saw in a news museum once that says there are 3 kinds of people who run toward disaster and not away, and these are cops, firemen, and reporters. And a day like this kind of reminds us of something like that. So these people braved the inferno, and instead of walking away, decided that they were going to serve.
It takes a special being to run towards danger when everybody's running away, isn't it? And I guess these firefighters would have known the dangers of the job, no doubt. You know, as do police, as do journalists, and it's a very apt saying there. You know, and it's so true. But it does take guts. You know, it does take guts. It just boils down to that.
And that's why their bravery. I heard that word being said several times by Manqoba, bravery and heroes. Those words are being used to describe Simpiwe Moropane, Katutsilo Mwedi, and Mduduzi Ndlovu, who are being remembered today. That's the wreath-laying ceremony outside of the Bank of Lisbon building. But the process then moves on to the Ellis Park precinct at the Standard Bank Arena this afternoon, where the memorial service will get underway.
Manqoba has also, raised a very important issue about lessons must be learned from this, isn't it, in order to move forward and prevent incidents like this from happening again, so that the memory of these firefighters will live on and they haven't died in vain. Okay, Manqoba Mqunu, we'll leave it there for now. Let's take you to an early interview that we did with JMP spokesperson Wayne Minna about the roads which will be closed for the memorial service and the wreath-laying ceremony of the firefighters who died while on duty at the Bank of Lisbon building.
Pixlika Sema Street will be blocked off at Commissioner Street, and Albertina Sisulu Road will be blocked off at Ntemi Piliso, and all of the crossroads from that point up to the intersection of Albertina, Sisulu and Pixlika Sema, where the building is, which caught fire last week. So we will have officers on duty where the roads are blocked off and the intersections adjacent to that. So the roads like Simmons Street, Harrison Street, and also Marshall and Anderson Streets will have officers directing traffic for the duration of the memorial service. Then we will also have a guard of honor at the point where the officers died for the laying of the wreaths between 10 and 11 a.m.
Mm-hmm. In terms of the times and the durations at which these processes are taking place, is it peak traffic time? What alternative routes can people use?
Yes, the alternative routes is Rissik Street and Ntemi Piliso Streets. Those are the two roads going into the city, and then out of the city the roads can be Simmons Street and Harrison Streets. However, we're fortunate that it's out of peak time now, and that we do have a lot of officers in the CBD diverting traffic, but we are confident that we will be able to manage the situation effectively. And then the memorial service will be from 12 p.m. at the Standard Bank Arena, or now the Ellis Park Arena, and that's where all the officers and EMS members will converge for the memorials. The funerals of the officers will be this weekend. The firefighters will be buried on Friday. The one will be buried in Davidton on Friday. The other will be buried in Venda on Saturday. And the third firefighter, who lost his life will be buried on Sunday in Newcastle, KZN.
In terms of the service the firefighters provide, they're almost like colleagues to yourselves.
Yes.
And traffic officers. How are you combining honouring them and also controlling traffic?
Yes, look, the firefighters died while serving, fighting the fire, and in that sense, we are committed to serving the community of Johannesburg. Hence, we are having the
That's how you
memorial.
honour them.
Yes, that's how we're having,
wow.
and that's why we're having the memorial service today to acknowledge our colleagues, because we serve together. They fight fires, and the Metro Police officers fight crime.
The roads you spoke about in terms of closure, what time will the roads be open to traffic again?
We can expect the roads to be open just after 11 a.m. That's when the majority of the staff will move to the Standard Bank Arena for the memorial service. So by 11:30 a.m., all of the roads should be open again.
Which is round about, in about 5 minutes' time, those roads will be open. But by noon, the memorial service will be starting at the Ellis Park Arena.
We'll try to go there live as soon as that gets underway.